Hey, my name is Anmol and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Emitrr. By now, I'm sure you've watched quite a few of my videos. Interestingly, my team gives me really well-crafted scripts for all of my videos. So they do a great job there. Over time creating these videos, I realized that I'm not a person who can read scripts. I do a really poor job reading scripts. So I thought I'll give it a shot, creating a video without actually reading a script, and let's see how it goes. I'm a person who likes to have a conversation, so I'll try to have a conversation with the audience as well. Today I'm going to talk about a really interesting topic, something that we keep getting asked a lot of times: HIPAA-compliant phone system or HIPAA-compliant VoIP. Now, if you're running a medical practice or a dental practice or any other healthcare business, let me ask you a simple question before I jump into this video. Are your phone systems HIPAA compliant? In all likelihood, I'm sure most of you probably do not even know if your phone system is HIPAA compliant, or you don't even know how to find out if they're HIPAA compliant. So the bigger worry in my mind is that you've probably been using a phone system for years, which you do not know if they're HIPAA compliant or not. And why is it important to have a HIPAA compliant phone system? If you're talking to a patient and you're discussing, what type of service you're offering to them, when is their appointment scheduled, their first name, last name, these are all PHI details. And if you're doing that, you need to be HIPAA compliant. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a couple of things. One, what really is HIPAA compliance? Two, what can you do to be HIPAA compliant, and what type of phone systems do you need to use to be HIPAA compliant, or which are the HIPAA compliant phone systems? I'll also compare a couple of HIPAA compliant platforms, talk about their pros and cons, whether they integrate with your EMR, they are good for a single provider, a single location business with receptionist, front desk, or multi-location business, and of course, who's rated what. So this is all data based on, primary information. And how do you sort of go about evaluating a HIPAA compliant platform and making sure they're actually HIPAA compliant? Because this is a serious concern. And I have noticed this time and again. We work with 1,000+ healthcare practices. I've noticed this time and again. People actually do not know. They use a cell phone, or people use their personal phones, or they just use landlines. No, none of these are HIPAA compliant. So let me dive right in and talk about each of these things that I just discussed. The first thing I'm going to talk about is what makes a phone system HIPAA compliant. And I'm going to talk about really objective things, so that when you go in and evaluate a system as your phone system for your healthcare business, you should know exactly what are the top 2 or 3 questions instead of going into different directions. One, make sure you sign a BAA. It's important. If they're HIPAA compliant, but they're refusing to sign a BAA, it's a red flag. That means they're not truly HIPAA compliant. 2, you need to make sure that all the calls are encrypted. HIPAA compliance is to protect your data in case of an incident. How does that get protected? It's only possible if it's encrypted. What that means is, if an incident occurs and all of your data in the system, let's say for example you use Emitrr and Emitrr is encrypted, it's not something you should worry about because the data is fully encrypted and protected. It's okay if there's an incident. Nobody can actually access the data. 2, you need to have access to all the call recordings, and there needs to be an access control. What that means is not everybody can access those call recordings. An access control means that maybe as an admin, the office manager has the right to access it, but maybe not the front desk. And you as a dental or a healthcare practice owner have the right to access it. So you need different access levels, you need audit logs, you need complete encryption, you need a BA in place, and you need to make sure that all of the information is completely deleted if you decide to stop working with this business. That's also something that HIPAA compliance clearly suggests. So you need to ask your software if they have all of this. While it is not a must-have, it is good if they integrate with your existing system of record, which is an EMR, because that way they can send all of this information directly into the EMR. So this is not a must-have, but it just sort of ties into that because now you have a record of this in your EMR. So second thing that I would like to talk about is, which is in line with what I just spoke about, is the common mistakes that I see healthcare business owners make. We spoke about what kind of features you need to look at, what kind of product capabilities you need to look at. But there are some obvious pitfalls that you can avoid. And these are obvious because I see many practices do this. Do not use personal phones. do not use platforms like Google Voice or free platforms that are available online, or making calls through WhatsApp and these free platforms, right? Or Zoom, for example, they are not HIPAA compliant. Zoom, of course, does sign a BA. So if they're able to sign a BA, then they'll give you the HIPAA compliant access, but do not use these free platforms. Please do not allow your teams to use their personal phones and record these calls. Do not store these recorded calls on your desktop or in cloud, so on and so forth. Let them be in your EMR, which is also HIPAA compliant, or in this phone system. These are some of the key things that you want to make sure you're doing so that you don't end up paying a big fine and you're being HIPAA compliant. So these are some of the big, or rather common mistakes you want to avoid while evaluating a HIPAA compliant platform. Now, the next thing that I really want to talk about is what are your options in the market as far as HIPAA compliant calling goes. There are a couple of players, and I'm going to try and compare each of them very, very briefly so that it's not an overkill for you, right? So there are players like Emitrr, ourselves, and I might be biased, but I'm going to share from my own experience who does Emitrr work really well for, and who does it not work for. So there's Emitrr, there's RingRx, there's iPlum, there's Spruce Health, and Weave. Now, I sincerely believe that Emitrr works best for offices that have multiple providers or multi-location offices, because one, we offer everything in one platform, which is texting, fax, calling, of course I spoke about, AI, automation, integration with your EMR, and it scales as your provider scales because we don't charge you based on the number of providers, unlike platforms like Spruce and few others, right? So Emitrr is healthcare first, and in that sense, it just works if you have multiple providers. When it comes to iPlum or RingRx, I think iPlum works really well. I keep saying I think, but really when I say I think, it's not me, but what we hear from customers. So when I say I think, it's really what customers have told me. And basis that is what I'm telling you, I think. So coming to iPlum, I think iPlum is great if you're a solo provider, because it's a very basic self-serve platform where you need to go in, set up everything. There's not much support. You can just add your credit card and get started, right? It's almost like Google Voice, but it's a HIPAA compliant version of Google Voice. So iPlum works well if you're looking to just get started. You're not yet sure how your business will take off. It's a low cost barrier. You can get started, self-serve, and go from there. The other platform that I want to talk about is RingRx. RingRx works if you're a little more established than just starting out and you want fax, basic texting, basic calling, no EMR integration, no AI, etc. So if you're a provider that's just starting, still figuring out whether this is going to work, iPlum is your bet. If you're a little more mature, you have a couple of patients on and off, that's when you mature to RingRx. And then you can potentially look at Spruce once you go a little more, because Spruce has a little more than just calling, texting, and fax. It also has other capabilities, but it charges you based on the number of providers. So I think Spruce is good if you have the budget to pay by multiple providers, and that's where Spruce, Weave, which is the fifth platform that I was going to talk about, and Emitrr come into picture. So Spruce charges you based on the number of providers. If you have 5 providers, it's about $150 into each provider. That's $750. Spruce is like iPlum and RingRx on steroids. It's just a much better version, right? Better UI, better UX, but a lot more expensive. Emitrr is Spruce on steroids with integration, EMR, automation, AI, and all of the good things. But yes, I may sound biased, but that's exactly what we figured out in our business model, that it's a lot less expensive and it integrates with your EMR. We build for healthcare, right? And then there's Weave. Weave is very similar to Emitrr. Rather, Emitrr is very similar to Weave as well. The only difference between Weave and Emitrr is Weave is a massively large company, close to $250 million, offers exactly what Emitrr offers. We are apples to apples comparison. But given the massive size of Weave, given that they're at $250 million and they work horizontally, they work with plumbers, HVAC, home service businesses, etc. Customers tell us that they tend to struggle a little bit with support, customization, etc. I don't mind accepting we're a much smaller organization. We just work with 1,000+ businesses. So we're more open to hearing your feedback, improving our product. And yeah, we're not probably as expensive and we can offer much better support, right? So that's how I think the 5 platforms stack up. If you're looking to learn more about HIPAA compliant VoIP, and AI solutions, then feel free to subscribe to this channel. I tend to keep creating videos on and off to help healthcare providers make better decisions and improve their business. So thank you for watching this video, and do consider subscribing to our channel. Thanks.